All right, everybody, it's August. That means it's draft time. So who should you take with your first pick? The ever-reliable Le'Veon Bell? The freakish Todd Gurley? The do-it-all back David Johnson? Or even the beast of a man that is Zeke Elliott? I say it should be the one guy that nobody is talking about for the first pick. Antonio Brown. Look, I get it. Running backs have a lot of value in fantasy football. It's true. Just by the numbers, it's hard to get a quality running back than any other position. In football, there's usually only one halfback on the field at any one time, unlike wide receivers, where there's usually 3 or 4, and they don't touch the ball every down like quarterbacks do. However, running backs also have the highest risk of injury. All it takes is one wrong cut, or one hit that catches them wrong, or even a teammate falling back on them to end their season. Yes, this is a risk for all players, but when you're slamming into a line of about 10 guys every play, it's a much greater risk than any other player has to deal with. Why does this matter? In the first round, you need to get a player that will be there for you all year. If you tank the first round of your draft, your team is so far behind that it will just be way too hard to recover. So from there, most people say, well, why don't we just take receivers then? The answer is simple. Not every receiver is Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown has been the number 1 PPR wide receiver since 2013. No, I'm not saying he's been number 1 overall for that time frame. I'm saying he's number 1 wide receiver each year. That's number 1 2013, 2014, 2015. You get the gist. Not even quarterbacks do that kind of thing. AB is as close to superhuman as there is in the NFL. We're talking about a 5'10 wide receiver drafted in the 6th round back in 2010. Since then, he has amassed almost 750 receptions and almost 10,000 yards while scoring 59 times. That kind of production is really unheard of. While yes, it's true that I started making this video before Brown got hurt in training camp, that really doesn't scare me off. Antonio's had injuries before and just fought through them like they were nothing. All indications are saying that this injury is minor, and if it were the regular season right now, he'd be on the field playing with no limitations. The thing is, that injury concern isn't the only thing that people are worrying about with Antonio right now. He is 30 years old going into the season now, and in the NFL, 30 is the magic number. Even for wideouts, that's the point where you start to see the athletic decline. That's why I'm breaking down this film, so that way I could show everybody that even if he does decline athletically, which, by the way, he really hasn't shown so far, he still has refined to his game to a point where it really shouldn't matter that much for your fantasy team. Now that we got all that out of the way, let's get to it. Alright, let's take a look at the play everybody remembers first. We're going to the 4th quarter against the Tennessee Titans this past season, where Antonio Brown decided he'd show the world what an elite receiver can do on a Thursday night. Now, of course, the ball skills on this play are just absolutely obvious and incredible. Maybe he keeps his hand down until the last possible second. He goes up, stabs it, pulls it in. I mean, of course, he has the wherewithal to pin it against his helmet so it doesn't come loose. But, I mean, what player doesn't do that these days, right? David Tyree did it. However, what isn't quite as obvious is everything leading up to the catch. Watch closely here. Antonio sees that he's got man coverage across from him. As you can see pointed out by the rest of the field, just about every defender is uptight in man coverage. They aren't really hiding anything on this play. Everybody can see, okay, this is man on man. Antonio's got the guy across from him. The other thing Antonio realizes is he knows the play. He knows that it's going to be one-on-one with him, and then his teammates are running across the field in this short area here. And when they do that, that coverage is going to pull down onto those receivers. So what does Antonio do? He fakes a slant release and immediately explodes the other way. The defender has no option but to bite on this slant route, knowing that he doesn't have help, and he's the only one that's going to be able to stop this slant route from happening. From here, Antonio knows he's got the defender exactly where he wants him. He gets to his outside shoulder, and the corner trails him, and there's absolutely no help back in the end zone. So, of course, Antonio, being the elite receiver he is, decides to slow down a little bit. Now, this may be counterintuitive to some people, but when he slows down like this, he's got his hand on the defender, so that defender can't get around him, and he slows just enough to give Ben room to put the ball exactly where it needs to be, gives him a little extra space to make sure that Antonio can catch the ball and his defender can't. Now, Big Ben, being a borderline elite quarterback, if not elite, puts the ball right where Antonio can catch it. And of course, he's the only one who can catch it. Now, here's another thing. He spins around to make this catch, but he actually has the confidence to one-hand this ball. So as he's going up, he takes his hand away from the ball and puts it on the defender. He doesn't push. He doesn't grab the defender. He puts his hand on him. Now, this isn't pass interference. However, it does the exact same thing. It prevents the defender from being able to get to the ball and get through Antonio's body without causing an interference call on the defender. It's a subtle little move, but it's the most important part. If his hand isn't on this defender, there's almost no way he's going to catch this ball cleanly. That defender is going to be able to just get in there and break that ball up. Little sidebar, any kids learning to play receiver, don't do this. It'll probably end in you getting benched. This is Antonio Brown, and it's a fantastic play in the NFL where cornerbacks can make any play that is asked of them. However, if you're playing Pop Warner and you try to hold off the defender to make a one-handed catch, you'll probably make a fool of yourself. All right, now that we saw the play that everybody remembers from last year, let's go to one that I'm pretty sure that nobody's going to have in the forefront of their minds. This play here is actually an incompletion, but I want to point out something that I think people might have missed. So we start with Antonio getting put through press coverage. He gives a good release and starts flying down the field. As he does, he spots that the nickel is actually dropping and working curl to flat. All right, watch where he goes here. He adjusts his route and puts it directly into the path of the nickelback. This not only gives the quarterback more room to the sideline to deliver the ball, but it neutralizes this nickelback in case he decides to turn and run with Antonio, because he won't be able to run through Brown's body without drawing a flag. Now, as this continues, Antonio actually realizes the nickel is trying to work the quarterback's eyes and has no clue that Antonio and his teammate are coming straight for him. What does he do? He actually hand fights the corner and hides just a little shove that sends his defender straight into the nickelback and causing them to take each other completely out of the play. Now, that's a savvy veteran move that you won't see very often. However, sadly, that's where the good stuff from the play ends. This is something that I can almost assure you doesn't happen with Antonio very much. Antonio is not one to shy away from contact, but he's streaking down the middle of the field here, and he can easily catch this ball. The ball's right in his hands. But watch his eyes. He sees Darius Butler coming after him. Sadly, instead of catching the ball and taking a shot from the safety, Antonio ducks out, misses the catch, and lets that poor cameraman get a face full of Mr. Butler instead. I could try and spin this as a positive, saying that he's just looking out for his health, which I guess he is. But really, it's a big catch that he should have made and didn't. It leaves a lot of yards on the table. It leaves you and the couple in the first row that now have a cameraman sitting in their laps pretty upset with him. Still, after watching all of this film, I can say just about for certain that this is the exception and not the rule. Let me show you what I mean. So we're back to the Titans game. This is the first quarter. Steelers are still in their opening possession. In other words, the one-time Titans fans had some hope that night. Big Ben sees cover 3 almost right away and checks the play to beat it. Right before the snap, Derek Morgan jumps off sides, and while it's debatable, it appears Roethlisberger sees it since he has Juju Smith-Schuster streaking to the outside of the deep third corner. Instead, he takes a shot at the end zone with AB hitting that seam between the other two deep third defenders. Now, one of the big problems, as we're about to see, with attacking the deep seam in the NFL is safeties in the NFL are so athletic that they're going to be able to get to the seam when the ball is arriving. Most of the time, they may not be able to break up the play, but they'll definitely be able to lay the wood at full speed on that defenseless receiver. That's exactly what happens here. Brown, however, shows absolutely no fear. He does exactly what he should. He gets his body between the ball and the defenders, rotates his body to seal the defenders away from the ball, jumps, and catches the ball against his body so that defenders can't rip it out. And he secures the ball through the hit. Antonio has amazing body control and technique on balls like this. A lot of receivers in this position might cut the route short and try to high point the ball with full extension and create a jump ball scenario. Not Antonio. He knows he doesn't have the height advantage. Yeah, he can high point the ball and secure it, but the D-backs can get their hands in to break up the pass. This way, the ball has an airtight seal against his body and leaves absolutely no room for that defender to poke it loose. Most importantly, after that last play we watched, he doesn't take his eyes off the ball to spot the safety. He knows that safety's coming. He knows exactly where that safety is. He knows he's getting hit. He just doesn't care. He just knows that he's getting a touchdown, and he doesn't care if he takes a shot through it. He's going to score, and his team's going up because of it. That's exactly what you want to see from a receiver in the end zone, is that fearlessness. Fearlessness is huge, and while you think, hey, it's the NFL, these guys have to be fearless, not everybody is. Now, of course, it's not all sunshine and roses. Nobody's game tape in the NFL is flawless, so there's some stuff we don't really want to just brush off. Let's take a look at a play that doesn't look so great for Antonio. As we watch here, we see a play that's designed to make the man coverage fight through all of the guy's teammates to make a play. However, after the pass comes to him, Antonio just doesn't have that straight line speed to break away from the corner who's chasing after him in Marlon Humphrey. Luckily for us, this isn't really a surprise. Antonio has never been an elite straight line guy. At his combine, he ran a 4.56. And I mean, 4.56 isn't slow, but Marlon Humphrey ran a 4.41 at the combine. And I mean, for a corner, that's still not great, but it's still faster than a 4.56. Yeah, Antonio Brown isn't a slouch. He's an elite athlete, but he's not going to run away from a corner just straight dead line usually. He doesn't have that kind of speed. Where Brown makes his hay is the explosion and quickness he's shown over his career. Alright, I know people get enamored with straight line speed and guys who can blow by NFL players, but what may be even more important is the ability to make hard cuts at full speed and accelerate out of them. If you can run a 4.2, but you can't cut, or it takes you 6 strides to get up to speed, it's not going to help you break tackles. You're just going to get demolished every time. Watch Antonio here. Is he making any ridiculous moves? Not really. Is he running away from anybody? No. However, he does get an extra 44 yards on this play just by being able to accelerate away from the defenders and make small moves to keep them off balance. There are a lot of other plays I could have chosen here where Antonio is making huge cuts and making defenders miss left and right. Instead, I chose this one because it shows that he doesn't need to outrun everybody to make a huge play. He knows how to run and has the acceleration and cutting ability to make up for not having that speed that some NFL players possess. That quickness is also something that can fade with age, though. So let's take a look at a play that makes me a little less concerned with the age problem. We're going to the first quarter of the Week 13 game against the Bengals from last year. Adam, the Pac-Man Jones, is lined up across from him in press coverage. Watch his footwork early here. One step, and boom, he's off and he's cutting to the other side. Unfortunately, Adam Jones is a veteran and doesn't fall for the release here, sticks Antonio in tight coverage. However, he gets no help. It's just one-on-one on the outside. This is the perfect situation for the back shoulder throw. Big Ben whips the ball at Antonio's back shoulder, and Antonio just whips right around and catches it. It's a beautifully placed ball where Pac-Man can't get to it since he's got his back to the quarterback. Antonio waits until the last second to turn and catch it, secures the ball so it can't be popped out. This is like the ideal back shoulder pass. He'll be able to do this for years to come, and as long as he has a quarterback to get it there, this shouldn't be a problem. That's honestly one of the biggest upsides to Antonio Brown. He has such a great rapport on the field with Roethlisberger that they can just make a play like this out of nothing, and they can just break this play out at any time. They completely trust each other to make the play and be where the other person thinks they're going to be. Not many receivers in the NFL have that luxury these days. When we look at Antonio Brown, we see the best player in the game right now. The only question is, when will the bottom fall out? I know I've made a lot to do about his age in this video, and most people really aren't concerned with it right now, which is why he's going as a top 5 pick in most drafts. There really isn't any downside to his game. He's still making huge plays, he's reliable over the middle, he can beat one-on-one coverage, he has fantastic ball skills, and he can make people miss in the open field. There's a reason that he's on the cover of Madden this year. And in all sincerity, if you want to take a running back at 1, or you just over Antonio Brown in general, I get it. There are so few good running backs that having one of the best ones is really going to help your team. I just like having Antonio Brown, and I'm a big fan of getting the receiver here just because he's going to put up close to, if not more, points than those running backs are going to, and he's less likely to get injured in the process. Really, either way you want to go is up to you. It's your team. Make the team how you want. I just want Antonio Brown because he is really good at football. Plus, he has really good dance moves. I want to thank everybody for watching this video. It's been a long time in the making. If you like what you see and want to see more deep dives on players and fantasy football, feel free to hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to click the bell icon to see when all the new videos go live. Stay tuned next week as we take a look at the Vikings running back Dalvin Cook and why I'm saying that he's going to be a top 5 running back this year guaranteed. Until then, keep your football fantastic.